So, I want to talk about the importance of dressing who you should be, or at least for your image role, and trying to be a little bit careful with when you say you should just show up authentically as yourself. We have to be careful with that statement because some people take it literally for what it is and then they end up being miserable. I know that we all end up going back to our authentic self, and this world, this facade that we're in, whether it's our work, whether it's our social group, we kind of have to behave in a certain way, communicate in a certain way in order for things to work seamlessly, right? We are not living in the world by ourselves, and therefore adaptability is very important. So I don't see why this is far from the world of fashion. When it comes to your dressing, I recently had a debate with someone that's very close to me about if you are good looking, you shouldn't overdress yourself. You shouldn't try so hard with dressing. You should just be very simple, basic, because you already have the looks to compensate, to like kind of take away or at least as a good excuse for you to dress bad or dress in a basic manner. Maybe the person didn't use the word bad, but more of like you should just dress in the simplest form because you are physically attractive. You don't need to overdo it. I was very intrigued by that whole concept because it's not something that I've ever heard before. I think I heard something similar about you shouldn't try so hard with brands and labels and logos for sure. But about this, it's kind of like saying if you are good looking, whether it's natural or unnatural, you are allowed to dress like a bum, right? I know the person used the word basic, but it also is not doing justice to, let's say the person is being invited to some event and the person is supposed to abide to the dress code or is supposed to at least respect the guest that invited the person and to wear in a specific color code or a specific way, right? And then because they think to themselves that there's this saying that if you or if this person thinks that they already look good and then they use the concept of, okay, because I look good, I don't have to overdress myself, and then they just show up underdressed compared to everybody else putting effort. I think this still shows some sort of intelligence that is going on here. So what do I mean by that? It can only mean two things, right? When you are in a group and you see that there's someone that purposely want to look individualistic, you know that they are seeking attention in some sense. It can be good, it can be bad, so it really depends on the person's intention. It also goes back to the person's role and the person's taste in fashion. When people use the excuse of, oh, because I'm good looking, right, I'm just going to be basic and I don't have to dress like everybody else because I'm more superior than everybody else, I don't need to respect the dress code, I think that is when it is really wrong. So when I asked the person, what do you mean by this person giving this advice to you? And the person said that because back then he was wearing something very loud and it was a Gucci print along with ripped jeans, and then it looked like he was trying very hard compared to this other guy, the person that gave the advice, was wearing something very simple like a white shirt, plain jeans, no details, and no logos, right? I think it was just Prada shoes or something like that. And because the person, in my head as a stylist, I can only visualize it as, so one person dresses like an experimental fashionista because of the logos and the details and the mix but not match method. And then the other person is just more classic or minimalistic, right? The other person gets the vote about being more attractive because according to the both of them is that when you wear the other way, where it's experimental, when you're trying to be individualistic, you're kind of seeking for attention in a wrong way. Guys, let me know what are your thoughts, right? What's your style and what do you think of this statement about if you're good looking, you can afford to not overdress yourself. But then I think to myself that it's kind of sad. I do agree with some sense that if the outfit is too clashing and it doesn't have the right proportion, the color theory is not matching right, it makes the person look like they're wearing a Christmas tree, or it looks like the clothes is wearing them rather than them wearing the clothes, of course then I would fall to the guy's advice saying that it's better to be minimalistic, more packed bag, rather than overdoing things. What do you guys think? Should you overdress or should you always be underdressed? I'll tell you in my next video what is my take.